So, you know, if you're anything like me, you're probably already wondering about when Eid al-Fitr is going to be next year in Pakistan.
Yeah,
20,
it was right.
exactly 2025. So many of our listeners are curious, and today's deep dive is all about exploring those dates. We've got a bunch of different sources here. Um, News, calendars, Islamic organizations, even some astronomical
A
prediction.
really interesting mix.
Yeah, and we want to kind of get to the bottom of
See
this.
what we can find out.
Yeah. Basically, is it going to be March 31st or April 1st? Eid al-Fitr, of course, the festival breaking the fast, a massive celebration at the end of Ramadan.
Huge, yeah.
So where do we even begin with figuring this out?
Well, the traditional way to determine the start of any Islamic month, including Shawwal, which is when Eid al-Fitr happens, is by actually citing the new crescent moon.
Oh, wow.
The Hilal, it's called.
The Hilal.
So it's not just about set astronomical calculations, It's about this visual practice, and that can lead to some variations.
So that's where we're looking at this March 31st, April 1st range for 2025.
That's right. It all comes down to the 29th day of Ramadan, which in 2025 will be March 30th. So if that new moon, if the Hilal is spotted on the evening of March 30th, then bam, Eid is the next day, March 31st.
Wow.
But if it's not sighted, then Ramadan goes the full 30 days and Eid falls on April 1st.
I see. So it hinges on that.
It does, yeah.
That specific sighting. But I feel like, with astronomy and everything, don't they kind of already know pretty well?
Yeah, it's really fascinating. Even though tradition emphasizes this visual confirmation, modern astronomy is remarkably accurate, and often that does lead to a high degree of, consensus.
Sure. Makes sense.
But the tradition remains important.
So from what we've gathered, are people leaning one way or another? What's the vibe?
Well, one of the really interesting things is how much agreement there is, amongst different sources. We looked at news outlets in Pakistan, Islamic organizations, and they all seem to be pointing towards this late March, early April timeframe. And astronomically, it does seem like the conditions would be favorable for a sighting around that time. But going back to what we were saying about tradition, the actual act of seeing the Hilal, that's not just a cultural thing.
Right, yeah.
It's got deep religious significance. It's the way they mark the start of these really important months like Ramadan, like Shawwal.
Yeah, it's not just like we're checking a box or something.
Exactly.
So who actually gets to make the call in Pakistan? Who's the official word on the moon sighting?
So in Pakistan, it's the Central Route Al Committee. They're the ones who have that authority.
Gotcha.
And they're actually going to meet up on the evening of March 30th, 2025 in Islamabad. And that's when they'll analyze all the reports of moon sightings that they get from across the entire country.
Okay, so everyone's looking up, reporting back, and then they make the call.
Exactly.
What about the weather folks, the PMD? What are they saying?
Well, the Pakistan Meteorological Department, they're predicting a good chance of being able to see the crescent moon on that evening of March 30th.
Oh, good chance. So they're feeling optimistic.
They are, and that's based on the fact that they expect the new moon, the actual birth of the new moon, to be the day before March 29th.
Oh.
And, the moon's going to be in a pretty good position in the sky, relative to the sun at sunset.
Makes sense. I guess that's how they kind of calculate it, right?
Exactly.
How about Suparco? Are they saying anything?
Yeah, Suparco, the Pakistan Space and Upper Atmosphere Research Commission, they're also saying that it's likely that Eid al-Fitr is likely to be on March 31st, 2025. But they did mention that, of course, weather conditions could always impact the actual visibility.
Yeah, if it's cloudy, you're not going to see it.
Exactly.
Now, we did have a listener who specifically asked about Rahim Yar Khan.
Okay.
Would the date be any different there?
That's a great question, and the answer is no. The official announcement that comes from the Central Route Halal Committee in Islamabad applies to the whole country, including Rahim Yar Khan. So, local news outlets there, they'll definitely report on the national announcement once it's made.
So the whole country's kind of holding its breath.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's not just these official bodies. I know we looked at what some of the Islamic organizations are saying as well.
Right. And it's really interesting to see how this all kind of lines up.
What are some of the big ones saying?
So both Islamic Relief and Islamic Relief Canada, they're both indicating that it'll likely be either Sunday, March 30th or Monday, March 31st, depending on the moon sighting.
Okay, makes sense.
Mustmade is also saying pretty much the same thing, around March 30th or 31st. Even Wikipedia suggests a range from March 30th, 31st to April 2nd.
Wow.
And then you have the Islamic Relief UK calendar, which very specifically lists Eid al-Fitr as March 30th, 2025.
Interesting. So a lot of alignment there.
Definitely.
And it seems like I was looking at the data for previous years, and it does seem to be a trend of, like, it shifting earlier and earlier.
Right. Absolutely. If you look at the historical dates for Eid al-Fitr in Pakistan, going back to 2010 all the way to, even 2024, you can see that it's been moving earlier in the Gregorian calendar each year. And that's all because of the lunar cycle, which is a bit shorter than our solar Gregorian calendar.
So that's why we're seeing it in, like, late March, early April in
Well,
2025.
precisely. Yeah.
Okay, so just to summarize everything we've learned today.
Okay, so we've got predictions from the meteorological agencies like the PMD, from space organizations like Suparco, and then you've got this, pretty widespread agreement among the Islamic organizations. And all of this is pointing towards March 31st as the most likely date for Eid al-Fitr in Pakistan in 2025.
Oh, okay.
But the big caveat here is it all depends on actually sighting the new moon on the evening of March 30th, 2025.
So for our listeners, I guess the best advice is stay tuned to the official announcement from the Central Ru'yat Hilal Committee, right?
Absolutely. That's the definitive word. And I think it's fascinating to see how all of this plays out, right? Like this blend of, ancient tradition, this astronomical event, and this huge sense of community waiting for that announcement really makes you think about the different ways that people around the world, mark time and observe these important events.
Yeah. Really interesting stuff.
Definitely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.